wave or an invasion essentially at midnight?
They're absolutely ready for it. The city folks here are doing everything they can. They are clearing the streets. They are opening the shelters. But at this hour, they're just not sure if it's going to be enough, guys. Now, look behind me. That's Gate 40. Just behind the wall in the razor wire, there are groups of migrants. They are waiting to see if the Federal Border Patrol agents will let them across the border. There are also Texas National Guardsmen at this border point. One of our journalists captured this video overnight at Gate 42, just down from us in El Paso. Now, it's hard to make out, but you can see people moving through a hole in the razor wire. At one point, a family of 3, including a young child, crawled through. But Texas National Guard members say they've cut a hole through the barrier to allow migrants to actually move back into Mexico. 800 miles from here in Brownsville, migrants have set up a tent city on the Mexico side. Some aren't waiting, though. All along the border, more than 10,000 migrants were caught illegally trying to sneak over the border Tuesday alone. Republicans in Congress want more agents and more resources, but the White House says the GOP is the problem.
The president would like to do more. He's using the tools in front of him, but Congress refuses to act. Instead, many Republican officials want to make a political case out of this. They're not looking to meet us at the table to actually deal with this issue. They want to turn this into a political stunt.
The Border Patrol Union tweeted this yesterday, quote, "Field reports from agents across the southern border verify the enormity of this tidal wave of illegal aliens coming now. Huge groups are overwhelming stations, and it is completely out of control. Massive releases beginning, and it's going to get much worse." Now, shelters here along the border are already filled. If non-governmental organizations are over capacity, the administration has authorized safe mass releases of migrants to city streets. Smugglers have told many of the migrants they brought here that come tonight at midnight when Title 42 expires, the doors will be thrown open and they can come in. Biden administration officials say that is absolutely not true. You must go through legal challenges, through legal channels, or face the legal consequences. Brian Ainsley and Steve, back to you.
All right, Caroline, thank you very much. Of course, at midnight, when it changes from Title 42, then the enforcement mechanism will be Title 8. The cartels are telling the people who are on the way at midnight, just they're going to open the door. That's not going to be true. And what they're going to find out ultimately is if you cross into the United States illegally, then they put your name on a list and you cannot come back for 5 years.
So they say.
There is one new thing, an emergency rule that apparently goes into effect at midnight as well. That says anyone who sets foot in the United States on soil and they express a fear of returning home, they can apply for humanitarian protection. This is going to go for 2 years. Immigrant groups say they're changing the rules from refugee status in the past. That is not fair. But nonetheless, that's what the administration is going to start tonight at midnight.
Yeah, so many of us, all of our ancestors did it, hundreds of years ago, or however many it is for in your family.
Here and where they're from. Here's what he said.
What a mockery of the intelligence of the American people as they think that they can just smokescreen us. They're coming because they think they have an opportunity to come and become U.S. citizens. Somebody has told them along the way that there's going to be this blanket amnesty program. What's dangerous about what's happening is they're not just your typical citizens that are coming in. A lot of these people are ex-convicts, released from the jails. We're worried about MS-13, the gang. There are far more dangerous gangs that have been formed through COVID and alliances. The reason the left doesn't want to say anything is because they'll get an overwhelmingly following in votes. And that's just basically how you're going to unlevel government and community.
And the thing that's so important for people to realize, there's been no pressure on the Central and South American countries to stop these illegal immigrants from passing through their nations. That's one of the key things the Trump administration did. They were constantly in these countries working with the presidents in their state departments and saying, listen, you got to stop. If you want aid, you can't send your people here. Keep them home. Tell me what you need economically. I'll work with you, but you can't send them here. Spread the word. And they would, and they did. And that's why those numbers went down. But currently, while this administration says there's no comprehensive immigration reform and that's Republicans' fault, while you try to wrap your head around that, just back off. It has nothing to do with enforcing the border. Comprehensive immigration reform would be great, but it's pie in the sky compared to just doing what's on the books already. And how bad is it?
Homer, who is chairman of the House Oversight and Accountability Committee. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning.
So we were all watching your press conference. It started right after our show at 9 a.m. But if you flipped around to other channels, No one else was covering it. What exactly, you've dug deep into the Biden family, and you have discovered what?
Well, 3 new things came out yesterday. First of all, we discovered that the president lied when he said his family never got a penny from China. We proved that statement false. We also proved that money was transferred to the Bidens while Joe Biden was in office, while he was vice president. That's something the media has always said when they rushed to Joe Biden's defense. They said, well, none of the payments that the family received ever were made while Joe Biden was in office. It was always in the 4-year period between the vice presidency and presidency. And that wasn't true, especially with respect to Romania. 16 of the 17 payments from the Romanian foreign national that was later convicted of corruption came while Joe Biden was vice president and actively talking about Romanian policy. And then the third thing, we disclosed who the 9 family members were that received money. And I think the average American was pretty shocked when they learned that children, that kids and grandkids of the president received money as well, and that's kind of hard to explain. So there was a lot of new revelations, but we also produced evidence, which is something Adam Schiff never did, and the evidence was in the form of bank statements.
Right, exactly. And I know the Republicans said that the smoking gun were these financial records that you were able to subpoena and got your hands on. They show that some of the president's relatives were paid more than $10 million from foreign sources between 2015 and 2017. And your party, the Republican investigators, say that that's proof of influence peddling by Hunter and James. But that's just your suggestion. You don't actually have any facts to that point. You've got some circumstantial evidence. And the other thing is, of all those names, the one person who didn't profit is there's no evidence that Joe Biden did anything illegally.
Well, if you look at the laptop and the emails between the president's son and from yet, we know that Joe Biden was actively involved, and we're still looking for more bank records that we believe will implicate Joe Biden's active participation in this at the end of the day.
You set up 20 different companies, you made at least $10 million, and these companies, according to Byron Donalds, who's a financial expert, was set up to kind of blur the line and make people think to themselves, I don't even know what these companies stand for. What do you think, what was Hunter Biden offering to bring in $10 million? Or Rob Walker, or Rosemont Seneca? What was their mandate? Just for investments? They saw an opportunity to make money, so they're an investment company? What do they do?
There are no investments. That's the thing. The media has always said, well, this is something similar to what Jared Kushner was doing. Jared Kushner has private equity firm. Jared Kushner has real estate assets. There's nothing there with the Bidens. We've gone through these businesses that they set up, these LLCs. Anybody can form an LLC online in 5 minutes or less, but there's nothing there. The Biden lawyers said when we discovered the first $1.3 million that went to the Biden family, they said, well, that was seed capital. Seed capital for what? There's no business there. These companies aren't real companies. When you set up a bunch of companies and you do it for the sole purpose of transferring money around, there's a term for that. It's called racketeering. The banks obviously thought this family was involved in money laundering. That's one reason they got so many bank violations called suspicious activity reports. We're talking about a criminal enterprise here centered around Joe Biden.
But listen to what the New York listen to what the New York Times said. House Republicans report finds no evidence of wrongdoing. Time magazine, I guess it still exists. Comer investigation of the Biden relative swings and misses. What's your reaction to their conclusion?
You know, I'm not surprised that the New York Times would say that. Look, if they think it's normal behavior for presidents' grandchildren to receive wires from foreign nationals, if they think it's normal behavior for a president's family to set up 20 companies and have emails where they use code names talking about that president, all while they're receiving payments from foreign nationals while the president or vice president's in office, then that's their opinion. But I don't think the average American sees it that way. I think the average American wants to know the truth. I think they appreciate the work we're doing because the mainstream media certainly isn't. We're going to continue looking. And let me assure you, Joe Biden was actively involved in this criminal enterprise. This is the Biden family influence peddling. There are no businesses. There's nothing legitimate about this other than they receive money from foreign nationals, from our adversaries around the world, while Joe Biden's influencing foreign policy and having a big influence over foreign aid.
All right, James Comer, after a busy day yesterday, and more talking about it today. Sir, thank you very much for joining us live from the Russell.
Thanks for having me.
Thank
you. Bet. All right, about a quarter after the top of the hour.
Hey, Ashley's standing by. She has some headlines for us. Hey, Ashley.
Hey, guys. Good morning. We're going to start with this. After almost 18 years, that main suspect in the 2005 disappearance of Natalee Holloway is being extradited to the U.S. Jordan Vandersloot is currently serving a 28-year sentence in Peru for the murder of another woman. He will be facing charges of wire fraud and extortion. Officials say he promised to reveal the location of Natalee's remains to her family in exchange for $250,000, but Vandersloot fed them false information. Holloway's mother releasing a statement saying, quote, "It has been a very long and painful journey, but the persistence of many is going to pay off. Together, we are finally getting justice for Natalee." Disney CEO ripping Florida Governor Ron DeSantis during an earnings call with investors yesterday. Bob Iger is accusing DeSantis of using state government to retaliate over Disney's opposition to the state's parental rights and education law. Iger says Disney filed a lawsuit in federal court in order to protect its business interest after being stripped of its self-governing status. DeSantis has accused Disney of conducting last-minute deals, limiting the new board's power. And here's one that might make you hungry. Wendy's is celebrating National Hamburger Month by offering junior bacon cheeseburgers for just a penny. It's just one of several limited time deals being offered at the fast food chain from May 26th to June 1st. But here's the thing, you have to place your order through the Wendy's app, and you can only get one junior bacon cheeseburger for that bargain price. Gosh, I remember in college, I would get like 3 of those.
No, they're delicious.
I love them.
You know what? And for 1 penny, I'm going to get one.
Yeah.
I got the app. All right.
I'm thinking
Thanks, Ashley.
we might be switching to Wendy's now. And they have a good Frosty.
Oh, they do.
They do.
Yeah.
You can dip the French fries
And
in
the
there.
chili.
And the chili
Yeah.
is fantastic.
Where do you get a penny? I mean, think about that.
We don't all.
All right, can I have change of a 20? I'd like to. All right.
I'll give you one, Brian. I
Thank
think I
you.
have one in my wallet.
Appreciate it.
All right, still ahead. Just hours left as Title 42 expires, with the migrant surge at the border already reaching record highs. How will this crisis shape 2024? Our voters
Are necessary.
This comes as new videos show migrants sleeping in police stations in Chicago. The problem is only expected to get worse when Title 42 expires tonight at midnight. Here at Reaction, Chicago Alderman Raymond Lopez. Raymond, good morning to you.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
So your mayor, Lori Lightfoot, she still is in office for a few more days. She's declared a state of emergency after you took in 48 migrants. 48 is probably the number of migrants that sneak across into Texas every 10 minutes. So that just puts it all into perspective. But that's what happens when you're a sanctuary city.
Well, Lori Lightfoot's capacity to amaze us never ceases to end. You know, the fact that she has been spending $20 million a month since August of last year, after declaring Chicago would be welcoming to all with no restrictions in February 2021, and now to say we're at a breaking point is just outrageous. She helped create this crisis by not putting pressure on her Democratic colleagues in the federal government to address the illegal immigration that we see, to address the asylum seekers that are not being processed, that we continue to see. And now the city of Chicago's 22 police districts have become housing shelters. Our park districts are becoming housing shelters. All of our programs are being pushed to the side with no end in sight. And all that she can come up with is we need more money. We need the Illinois National Guard, which we'll have to pay for to address it, and no real resolution as to how to humanely deal with these young people and these families in our midst.
Raymond, just real quick on this. This is totally an in-your-face to the cops, because you got plenty of hotels, vacant storefronts, and places they can go, but they just want to make the lives of the police officers a little more hellish.
No, absolutely. You know, we have a 40% vacancy rate in the downtown. She's trying to spend $1 billion to make it a residential area, and she's forcing our police staff to work in these kind of environments where many of these individuals require help. They have communicable diseases, all of which our officers are being exposed to and taking home on a daily basis. It's disgusting, it's shameful, and Chicago should be able to do better.
Raymond, we told the audience yesterday about this veteran Chicago prosecutor who quit his job in this blistering letter about how bad the policies are in Chicago. He's worked there for 20 years and now he's leaving to go to Wisconsin. This is a portion of his letter. His name's Jason Pohe. And he said, "My son, who is only 5, hears gunfire while playing at our neighborhood park, and the drug dealer is open air selling behind my house. I will not raise my son here. My own employer has turned it into a place from which I am no no longer proud to be and in which my son is not safe. This office's complete failure to even think for a moment before rushing into one popular political agenda after another has put my family directly in harm's way. What is your reaction?
You know, we know very well that Kim Foxx, who's the retiring, thank God, Cook County State's attorney, has been using her office to be the #1 public defender in the Midwest. And she has enabled criminals, and it's been very difficult for individuals like this ASA to do their job, to find justice when our police arrest individuals. He is voting with his feet. He is voting to leave the city, leave Cook County, but so many people can't, and it's basically racist to force people to have to live with the criminals in their midst like this and not hold them accountable.
It's happening across the country.
Raymond, thank you very much for getting up early out there in Chicago and telling us your story.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, it's 36 minutes after the top of the hour, and former President Trump ripping into Joe Biden administration, his administration, as millions of Americans are struggling in this economy, how it will impact 2024. Our voter panel is back next.
Yep, there they are.
Has been involved in this for many years, or for the last 3 years at least, and Fox and Friends Weekend co-host Pete Hegseth is live in Washington, D.C. to tell us about it. I'm glad you're celebrating all of those men and women, Pete.
Of course. It's a special morning. It's a great thing. Guys, thanks so much for having me, and it's an honor to be here. I'm here joined by Rob Wright. He's a retired police lieutenant, 27 years in service. He just came flying up on his bike. It was a little late, but he made it in time for the segment. You're going to be riding with the speaker today. Talk to me about the Back the Blue ride, why it's so important to recognize those who've served and continue to serve.
And thank you very much for inviting me. Yeah, I did 27 years in law enforcement up in northern New Jersey, and it was a great experience. And one of the things that, you know, especially with the time of days now, defund the police and all, this is really huge for the police departments and law enforcement in general to be able to help out with the speaker's ride, but also know that he supports us. There's 22,000 names on the wall right down the street. And those are the people that, gave the ultimate sacrifice to protect our freedoms here in the United States.
Foo, Pete's lips are moving, but Pete, we can't hear you.
Yeah, you know what? I bet you it's where he's holding the wireless microphone.
Well, Rob said that this is so meaningful to him because there are 22,000 names on that wall of fallen heroes, and his department has 3 names that gave the ultimate sacrifice.
And I'm just looking at this difference now. The respect that they get from us and the disrespect that we saw over the last few days because of the subway, situation, and how these cops were being baited and screamed at, and one had to be helped into a cop car. Though there was a time when that would never be the case.
Well, it's good that as many Americans back the blue as possible because they're the ones who keep us safe.
More with Pete. Remember that, don't they?
Yeah, no kidding. We're going to fix that audio problem. Back to Pete in a bit. In the meantime, Fox weather alert. The Midwest and Great Plains facing a multi-day severe weather outbreak as a powerful storm system unleashes hail, tornadoes, and heavy rain. These images out of, as you can see right there, Akron, Colorado.
Officials say as many as 3 tornadoes touched down yesterday with at least 8 sightings reported. This as tennis ball-sized hail batters Denver, damaging cars and windows.
Folks across the Mile High City waking up to hail-covered streets. Look at those images.
Wow, looks like it snowed.
Yeah. Let's check in with our meteorologist, Janice Dean, for our Fox weather forecast. Hey, Janice.
Hello, good morning. Let's take a look at it. Yeah, we had several reports of tornadoes yesterday and last night, and today is no exception. We have the risk for strong to severe thunderstorms, including heavy rainfall. Let's take a look. Yes, those are the tornadoes in the past 24 hours, and you can actually see some snow in the higher elevations of Colorado. The tornado risk for Oklahoma and towards Kansas, the potential for EF2 tornadoes plus, meaning very strong tornadoes could be likely today, so just know where you're going to get your watches and warnings. And then that storm system is going to kind of linger over the plain states over the next couple of days. Here in the East Coast looks good. 81 will take it, and then the heat is going to arrive in the West over the next couple of days. Tree pollen, it is happening here in the Northeast.